Welcome to the IDP Hunting Ground podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hungar, the IDP Hunter. I'm joined tonight by JJ Schultz at Dino NFL. Now, Mr. Schultz here, he has his own YouTube channel on Fancy Six Pack. He does his own show, rather. And he's also a co-host on the Sunday Social. He's a fellow FSAA member since 2023. Jordan does a lot of football ranks. He does a lot of tools. He does a lot of articles. He does a lot of fun stuff over at Fancy Six Pack. What's going on, Jordan?
Man, not much. Just, trying to process this heavy free agent signing we had today and trying to slowly start figuring out what these teams are going to look like next year. But I mean, man, we're a month away from the best time of the year where we're getting right back into full swing of football. It's good, man. Life is good right now.
Man, you ain't kidding. This is like Christmas time between the combine and all the signings that happened today. We had Jordan Hicks sign with the Browns. We had Brian Burns sign with the Giants. I'm trying to process everything.
Who's a Giant safety too? McKinney. He went. He's gone now too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I will tell you though, I've had a couple days now to process this combine, these rookies, and the purpose of me bringing you on the show tonight is most of us know the top 3, top 5, their position now. I'm looking for sleepers specifically at certain positions. So if you don't mind giving the audience at home kind of a synopsis of who you're tracking, once the top guys go off the board. Who are you looking at, particularly on the offense? I guess we'd start with quarterback.
Yeah, so for what we did for this exercise, just so everybody knows, so that way nobody was like, oh, well, what about this guy? So I just put out a top overall 48 mock draft the other day. You can head over to my Twitter and find it. So anybody that was in my top 24, you will not find on this list. So like Marshawn Lloyd was at number 22 or number 23. He's a sleeper for a lot of people. You're not going to see him. He's not sleeper enough for this list here. So now that we got that out of the way here, my quarterback sleeper, he came in at number 46 on my list here. And that's going to be Tulane Michael Pratt, junior, coming in at 6'3", 220. Took a little bit of a step back his senior year statistically, 2,400 yards to 22 touchdowns with 5 interceptions. Added about another 285 yards with 5 scores on the ground. You move it back 1 year before that, he threw for over 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. So 2 years in a row, doing a really good job taking care of the ball. He had another 10 touchdowns to 478 yards on the ground the year before that. So he's a big body. He can take hits. He can get out there. He can run the ball a little bit. I honestly see a world where he has a more successful career than Bo Nix and Michael Penix ahead of him if he falls into the right type of system. Tulane has had a lot of really good NFL talent come out the last few years. Best case scenario for him is probably a Gardner Minshew type career path there. But I do think he is one of those high-end backups that can be one of the top 5 backups in the league at any given time and then put up numbers when called upon. So he's a guy in Superflex draft, 4th round. I have no problem throwing my 4th rounder, throwing him on a taxi squad and just seeing what happens.
There you go. I like that. And we'll transition back to me. I'm going to go defensive line here. You're going to see a run in these IDP drafts. There's going to be 7 or 8 guys that go off the board. I'll throw 2 names at you real quick. Darius Robinson. He's one of those he just transitioned from a 3-tech player to a 5-tech player, so he can play that 2 gap pretty well. I think I can get him as a DL7, but there's a lot of people hip to him now. Some people are scooping him up even earlier. I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Dude was saying he's a top 20 overall player. I don't know about that. But if Darian Robinson's there when you guys are drafting middle round, take him. Let me throw another one at you guys here real quick. Braden Fiske is a defensive tackle at Florida State. He's the guy at the Senior Bowl. Notoriously, they switched him from one team to the other. He emerged there, and he emerged the combine, 4.78 speed, 1.68 second on a 10-yard split, and a remarkable 9-foot 9-inch broad jump. So keep an eye on Braden Fiske and Darius Robinson as players later on in your drafts that most average casual fans aren't going to notice.
It's crazy. I'm just kind of processing. We recorded a show before this. The Florida State team had so many good players on it this year. I wish they Jordan Travis could have stayed healthy that full year, because it's now that having a chance to step back, it's man, there's some studs on both sides of the ball here. I guess I never really processed it in season, just how good they were.
Not only that, Texas. I was looking at Texas. There's like 6, 7 defensive linemen. Like I can't put all these guys in my top whatever. I can't promote. But yeah, there are some teams that have all the riches and spoils, the haves, and there's other ones that have nobody. Go figure.
States to have for sure this year.
Yeah. So where do you want to go next? You want to go running backs next?
Yeah. Let's head over to running back. And so here, this was a tough one. I had two guys that I was going back and forth between here. I had the number 31 and 32. So I figured if that close, I'll go with the guy I had a little bit higher. And that's Will Shipley from Clemson. Junior, 5'11", 205 pounds. Another guy that I think you're going to get a little bit of a discount on just because statistically it took a little bit of a step back from 22 to 23. This year still had 827 yards and 5 touchdowns. But where you're going to want this guy is what he does as a pass catcher. Another 31 catches for 225 yards and 2 scores. You back up 1 year before that when the Clemson offense was even a little bit better. He had 210 carries, went for over 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns, kicked in another 38 catches for 242 yards. True like dual threat style running back with the pass catching ability. He doesn't just run like your basic running back tree, which is like little angles and outs. Like you can put him out in the slot out wide and he can go out and run like legitimate wide receiver routes. And again, had a little bit of a down junior year statistically. So I think that's going to get a little bit of a draft day discount, but he's a guy that in an NFL system, I think they're going to be able to showcase like what he can do a lot better than what happened this last year at Clemson. And again, just those PPR and half PPR leagues, he's going to be one of the best pass catchers in this class pretty much from day one. And I have no problem throwing my 3rd and 4th round picks at the running backs that have that profile.
Yeah, and Will Shipley, if memory serves, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school and college. So he has the pedigree. And that's a good one. When all the top names, the top 4 or 5 come off the board, he should still be sitting there for us.
And then Ray Davis from Kentucky. That was the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
Going back and forth here. Like I kind of, Bulls fan, so I have a little bit of a soft spot for Jimmy Butler. And they have a very similar story, kind of like the homeless as a child. Kind of, it's hard to root against guys like that, and you just want to see them succeed. Ray Davis has a very similar story to that. Better pass catcher than he's ever asked to be in Kentucky. He's a guy that I think wouldn't be surprised to catch 25, 30 passes at the next level. But yeah, Ray Davis, that's kind of my other running back sleeper, but Will Shipley is who we'll narrow it down to here.
Okay, well, we'll transition back here to the linebackers, and I'm going to give you 2 here because I feel like I gave this name on the last podcast, Cedric Gray, and I feel like I'm cheating the audience. But let me just hype him up, and then I'll go and I'll give you another sleeper. Cedric Gray is a 6'3", 235-pound tackling machine. Like, seriously, I know we say it all the time, but I can't say it enough. He had a 121 tackle season, 80 solos, 31 assists, 54 stops. That's ridiculous. And his college career, he racked 368 tackles total, 8.5 sacks. So he can do it all. He's a top 5 guy, day 2 prospect. He runs a 4.7. I'm a little iffy on that. Maybe he's a little slower than I thought he was going to be. But when all the top player names come off the board and we know who they are, Gray should be sitting there for you in, day 2 of your drafts.
I like that.
My second player, and this is somebody I was waiting to see explode at the combine. He did. It's Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky. Wallace was really good. He had really good film. Not only that, he showed that he can back it up. He had a 4.5 40 time, 37.5 vertigo, 10.7 broad jump. He was the reason why I keep saying those numbers, then why that was significant. He was top 3 amongst all linebackers in all the categories. So this is a guy way outside of drafts that most people aren't paying attention to, unless you're probably a Kentucky fan.
Yeah, I like that one a lot here. So kick over to receiver next year. This is my guy right here. I can already tell. So last year, the guy I was in on early and hard before it was trendy was Zay Flowers. He was my wide receiver 2 before he kind of jumped over Quentin Johnston and the consensus. So I very much have a style of receiver that I have a thing for. And so I'm aware of that. But the next one coming in, that's going to be that's going to be Malik Washington from Virginia. Redshirt senior, small guy. He's 5'8", but he came in at 195 pounds. So he's not small. He's just short. He's thick. He's built. Weighed in really well at the combine. Spent a couple years at Northwestern. And the numbers were down there, but I think that was more just to do with the system he was in, because you see him transfer over his final year to Virginia, jumps up to 110 catches for 1,426 yards and 9 touchdowns. So a big jump from that 65 catch, 690 yard season he had the last year before there. So I feel good about the fact that the first time that he was like asked to step into a future role into an offense that's not afraid to chuck it around. Like he responds with 1,400 yards, 100 catches, and 9 scores. What he did at the 40, 4.4740, and then he had the highest vertical of all receivers at 42.5 inches. So he is a little bit shorter, but that boy can get up. He's got some boosties. So Malik Washington, I had him at number 28 in my ranks, and I think that he's a guy that if you're looking back on this in a few months or a few weeks, you're like, oh, sleeper Malik Washington. What are you talking about? He's a second-round pick now. I think he's a guy that the closer we get to the draft, you're going to kind of just keep seeing him climb to the point where he's a trendy second-round pick.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. He's been blowing up Twitter for quite a while now, so that's a great name to have. I'm going to move on to the safety, the defensive backs here. I'm going to give you guys one name because this is truly a back pocket grab here, okay? Javon Bullard, safety out of Georgia. He's a top 5 defensive back for me. I think I had him 4. He's 5'11", 195, okay? He works best in zone coverage. I'm expecting him to be a free safety next level. He's a bit undersized. He put on 15 pounds next level. I mean, guys do that all the time, but he should be a good physical player in the slot. When I'm trying to give you guys these sleepers or these rookies or these deep dives, I'm looking at things that, yeah, sure, they have warts, but, putting on weight next level is an easy thing to do. I remember Leonard Floyd when he came out of college. He was very undersized, but he was fast. Well, he bulked up pretty quick, So I'm thinking of the same kind of build, 5'11", 195. Yeah, he can put on 15 pounds next level. But Javon Bullard really, really helped himself at the combine, let me tell you. He delivered. He clocked a 4.47 on the 40-yard dash. Okay, not only that, all the drills, he didn't really disappoint at all. He has good movement shifts. He's really good in open space. I'm expecting Javon Bullard to be a premier safety next level. He'll probably be a day 2 pickup for some team somewhere, but he could probably be a starter, especially in the nickel. The way teams run nickels now, I can see him playing, especially at speed. I'm a little reluctant, and that's why I've been fading Cameron Kitchens on this last episode and last couple episodes. He's got 4.6, 4.7. It's going to be harder to put those kind of guys on the field, especially the way the new modern NFL is. I'm not saying they can't. Mike Minard's a great example from the Panthers. He did a decade-long career. He was a bit slower, but, his 10-yard split time, everything within press man, you could have a career. You can make Jamal Adams another one. He makes it all in the tackles. But I'm just thinking, as far as a product goes, as far as branding goes, I'm very interested on where Javon Bullard goes next level, and I'm trying to see where they plug and play him. For teams that need free safeties or even a nickel or something in a slot, I can see him excelling, and that's a name a lot of people aren't hip to right now.
Yeah, if it's anything like the last few years, my money is on the Eagles because they just seem to snatch up the Georgia defense, basically. So that's my bet. My bet there is Eagles.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, so last sleeper for me here, the tight end position. This one felt like cheating a little bit because he is my number 3 tight end, number 27 overall. But that's Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, junior, 6'4", 245 pounds, a guy that just got a little bit better every single year. Over his final 2 seasons combined for 80 catches, a little bit over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. But he's a guy that he's one of those dudes that when you watch the film, like he is just explosive. Like he catches the ball, he runs like he's pissed off, like kind of like Isaiah Pacheco in a tight end body, kind of how I would describe him. If there's one kind of thing that could go against him is he's a very good blocker to the point where there's some rumors that they may look to convert him to fullback depending what situation he falls into. I don't know that I necessarily see that just because I think that what he can do as a pass catcher is going to be more valuable at the next level than what he can do or just keeping him in as like a fullback type blocker there. But one kind of note to put on there has been a little bit of talk about that, but Ben Sinnott's my tight end sleeper. I'm still buying it at this point. If we have rookie drafts now, I'm okay throwing 3rd and 4th round picks at him. So yeah, Ben Sinnott, Kansas State, name to remember.
Heck yeah. And just for the audience at home, if you're in these drafts and you don't get a top player, especially on defense, don't sweat it. This is a great cornerback class. Guys like Terrion Arnold, honorable mention. Quinion Mitchell, honorable mention. Nate Wiggins, honorable mention. Miles Harden, honorable mention. Cam Hart, Max Melton, all helped themselves to combine. Cooper DeJean is my number 1 corner in that class. So if you're playing in those kind of leagues, relax. You can probably slot one of these guys as a later round pick. You're bound to get one of them. Jordan, anybody outside of everything that we're talking about, do you have any deep shots that you're looking at, thinking about taking?
Yeah, let me see here. I got one for you here. I'm trying to pull up my ranks here. Let's see. Any specific position you want me to go to?
No, just go whatever you want. I mean, wide receiver seems to be the cream of the crop this year. So
Ricky Pearsall from Florida, he's another guy. He was one that I had on my list, but I ended up taking it down just to go one at each position here. But I actually just had a bunch of stuff from him on another show. All right, here we go. Ricky Pearsall. I had him down as a combine winner. Another guy, 42-inch vertical, so just a half-inch shorter than Malik Washington, who had the number 1 in the class. And he's one of those guys that in the gauntlet drill, like that's kind of one of the few drills at the combine that I feel like it doesn't really translate, but you can kind of get a feel for how these guys are moving and able to run, catch, and process multiple things at once. Ricky Pearsall looked freaking awesome in that drill. You're not really surprised by it. Like watching Anthony Richardson film last year, he was a guy that popped more than Richardson did it sometimes. I'm like, man, who is that guy right there? And just the same thing this year. I think if he'd have been asked to do more, he could have put up more numbers, like closer to like that Malik Washington level, but just the function of the offense he was in just wasn't asked to do that. But yeah, Ricky Pearsall from Florida, he's another guy that's going in the 3rd round right now that I wouldn't be shocked if like you see him get like round through capital, and at that point he's pushing himself up towards the back of the 2nd round like Malik Washington. But for those that have early draft now, he's a good guy to go target right now before he jumps up.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he's a fun one, man. It just seems like he has good vibes all around you. Like when you watch like the interviews and stuff, it just seems like one of those guys you just want to be around in like a locker room too. So just good vibes around Ricky Pearsall right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time when teams are made and drafts are created, and we're no telling. I mean, the Patriots could all use another receiver. You know, there's a lot of teams out there that are still trying to put it together. So landing spots is going to determine everything. So I don't get really too stuck on the rankings because these rankings are going to move around, what have you. It's knowing the players, knowing their bio, knowing their pedigree, and seeing where they fall. You know, that's the biggest one for me.
Yep, I'm a tiers guy at this point. Like I'm not as concerned as much about the 1 versus 2. I'm tiering guys into different groups right now, and then I'll adjust based off where they end up after that.
Exactly. Well, I guess this completes our show of our sleepers. Jordan, tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, going over to Twitter, follow me at Dino NFL. Pretty much anything I do, I'll tweet out through there. And then just become a member and like our Fantasy Six Pack YouTube pages there, and you'll find all my content in those 2 spots.
Got award-winning rankings over there too. That's the other key. If you guys are looking to win your league, not just football, they do baseball. It's a top 5. I was top 4 IDP, and then you guys, I think Joe Bond was top 3 fantasy.
He got 3rd this year, I believe. I think it's his 4th top 5 finish in like the last 5 or 6 years or something crazy like that.
This is where you go. This is where you learn. It's you're building your teams. You do it in the off season, and I don't know what kind of leagues out there stop trading during the off season. This is when you grow. This is when you build them. Thanks for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll have some more chats in the future.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we're gonna head out tonight. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, man.